The gentle May sunlight poured down on the white mansion in Boston's most prestigious residential district. The air carried the faint perfume of freshly bloomed azaleas from the garden, their vivid crimson petals swaying lightly in the breeze. Inside, the spacious Williams residence glowed with refinement. The crystal chandelier above the living room cast a kaleidoscope of light across antique furniture polished to perfection, each piece a testament to the family's generational wealth. Afternoon tea had begun, as it did every Sunday. Barbara Williams, seated regally on a cream velvet sofa, lifted her porcelain teacup with graceful precision. She wore a Chanel tweed jacket in pastel tones, her diamond brooch sparkling under the chandelier. Across from her sat Amanda, the youngest daughter, poised in a new Prada dress, her makeup flawless as though she were preparing for a magazine shoot. "Oh, Amanda, you're simply wonderful," Barbara exclaimed, her voice warm yet tinged with pride sharp enough to sting. "The youngest department head in Boston Tech's history, imagine that. My darling girl, you've always been destined for greatness." Barbara repeated the words with satisfaction, as if affirming them aloud could cement them forever in family history. Amanda's lips curved into a modest smile, but her eyes glimmered with the confidence of someone who had already tasted power. "Thank you, Mom," she replied sweetly, "but really, Boston Tech values young talent. I was simply fortunate to be in the right place at the right time." Her words carried humility, yet the deliberate sparkle in her gaze betrayed her hunger for acknowledgement. In the corner, Olivia, the eldest daughter, sat alone in an armchair near the tall window. She wore a simple gray cardigan and plain black-rimmed glasses, her dark hair pulled back without effort. Her calm presence was almost invisible compared to Amanda's radiance, but her silence was not emptiness, it was watchfulness. Olivia's gaze moved quietly between her mother and sister, her hands resting lightly on her phone, as though she were already 2 steps ahead in a conversation no one else had yet started. Amanda, sensing the silence, turned her attention toward her sister. "Olivia, why don't you consider moving to a better job?" Her tone was friendly, yet sharp at the edges. "Boston Tech would welcome you, I'm sure. I could even put in a word with HR." Barbara nodded eagerly, almost too eagerly. "Amanda is right, dear. Your skills are wasted at that little accounting firm. Don't you want more for yourself?" Olivia finally looked up. A faint, serene smile curved her lips. "Thank you, but I'm content where I am. My work fulfills me." Her voice was soft, steady, unshaken by the subtle barbs. George Williams, their father, glanced over the top of his newspaper. A professor of physics at Boston University, he had always regarded his daughters with impartiality, yet in his mild expression lingered something thoughtful, as though he sensed the undercurrent of rivalry beneath the conversation. The air shifted again when Amanda leaned forward with a gleam in her eyes. "By the way, my promotion party is next week at the Langham Hotel. A grand event, about 200 guests. I expect everyone to come." Barbara's hands clapped together in delight. "Splendid, Amanda. What a perfect way to celebrate your success. You've made us all proud." Amanda turned expectantly to her sister. "And you'll be there, Olivia?" "I'll be there," Olivia said evenly. She rose from her chair with deliberate calm, her every movement measured, almost strategic. She smiled faintly. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some work to attend to." With that, she disappeared into the study, leaving Amanda and Barbara to chatter on excitedly about the upcoming party. The following week, the grand ballroom of the Langham Hotel shimmered like a jewel box. Crystal chandeliers bathed the room in golden light. A champagne tower glittered at the center, reflecting droplets of light like stars. The air buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses. A large golden sign at the entrance proclaimed, "Congratulations, Amanda Williams," framed by an arch of pink and white roses. 200 guests, dressed in gowns and tuxedos, mingled gracefully, their conversations humming with sophistication. Amanda was radiant in a black Chanel gown, her pearl necklace glowing against her skin. She greeted each guest with a dazzling smile, the very picture of Boston's rising star. Barbara hovered nearby, introducing her daughter with pride swelling in every syllable. "My youngest daughter," Barbara cooed to anyone within earshot. "She's always been remarkable, so hardworking, even as a child." At a quiet table near the back sat Olivia, in her modest gray dress. While her outfit was understated, There was something deliberate about it, as though she had chosen invisibility. She sipped water, checked her phone occasionally, and watched, always watched. The evening reached its peak when the vice president of Boston Tech ascended the podium. His commanding voice silenced the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor Amanda Williams, who has achieved the extraordinary feat of becoming Boston Tech's youngest department head at just 28 years old." Thunderous applause filled the ballroom. Amanda walked gracefully to the podium, every step rehearsed, every gesture perfected. "Thank you all so much for joining me," she began, her voice smooth and confident. "This is the greatest honor of my career. I am deeply grateful for the support and guidance that helped me reach this position." She paused, letting the applause swell again. Then, her eyes shifted toward the back of the room. "By the way," Amanda continued, her smile sharpening, "there's someone here who has watched my journey most closely, my sister." All eyes turned to Olivia. She set her phone down and lifted her gaze calmly, her face unreadable. "My sister," Amanda said sweetly, though her words dripped with venom, "has been the perfect example of what not to do. Watching her settle for mediocrity in a small accounting firm motivated me never to live such a wasted life." Ripples of laughter swept the crowd. Even Barbara giggled behind her hand. Amanda pressed on, her confidence swelling. "Perhaps someone here could give my sister a few lessons on success?" The laughter grew louder, but at that exact moment, Olivia's lips curved into a faint smile. With a subtle motion, she tapped her phone screen, as if triggering an unseen domino to fall. George's eyes narrowed from across the room. His intuition prickled. Something was about to change. Just as Amanda opened her mouth to continue, the ballroom doors swung open. Gasps filled the air as Michael Henderson, president of Boston Tech himself, strode inside. His sudden arrival silenced every voice. Amanda froze, her smile faltering before she quickly recovered. "President Henderson, what an honor to see you here." Her tone was polite, yet laced with tension. The president, in a tailored navy suit, approached the podium with a calm but deliberate air. "Apologies for my late arrival. Congratulations, Amanda, on your new role." Amanda beamed, already envisioning his praise, but instead, the president's next words pierced the ballroom like a thunderclap. "Tonight, however, I wish to recognize someone else. Someone whose work is set to transform the future of the IT industry. Miss Olivia Williams, would you please join me?" A stunned murmur swept the crowd. All heads turned as Olivia rose gracefully. For the first time, the modest gray dress seemed regal, as though she had been saving her brilliance for this exact moment. She walked forward with quiet dignity, every step erasing the shadow her family had cast over her. President Henderson cleared his throat. "Miss Olivia Williams has developed an AI security system that is nothing short of revolutionary. She has accepted a position as co-founder of a Silicon Valley startup, already backed by $1 billion in global investment. Boston Tech itself is considering her system for future implementation." Gasps echoed. Barbara's champagne glass slipped in her hand. Amanda's face drained of color as the ground beneath her carefully crafted image began to crumble. And in that moment, Olivia, calm, quiet, overlooked Olivia, stood in the center of the ballroom, finally revealed for who she truly was. Her glass trembled. Barbara's hand flew to her mouth, muffling the gasp that escaped her lips. Her diamond bracelet jingled as she stared wide-eyed at her eldest daughter, as if seeing her for the first time. "Miss Olivia's AI security system is revolutionary," President Henderson continued, his voice resonant with authority. "By applying quantum cryptography, she has already secured 7 fundamental patents. Global giants, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, are currently in discussion to adopt this technology." Each word dropped like a stone in a still pond, sending shockwaves through the ballroom. Conversations that had moments before been filled with laughter now dissolved into odd silence. Forks hovered above plates, champagne glasses froze midway to lips, and the very air seemed to thicken with astonishment. Outside, twilight deepened. Boston's first streetlights flickered awake, casting pale halos against the indigo sky. Through the hotel's towering windows, the city's glow seemed to mirror the sudden illumination of Olivia's hidden brilliance. A woman who had been a target of ridicule only minutes ago was now the axis around which the entire evening revolved. Where laughter had once mocked her plain gray dress, reverent glances now traced the lines of her quiet dignity. The president's voice pressed on, unyielding. For the past 5 years, while maintaining her modest position at an accounting firm, Olivia devoted her nights to this research. It was a secret endeavor, one of perseverance, sacrifice, and vision. The audience leaned forward, spellbound. Amanda remained motionless on stage. A bead of sweat trickled down her temple, threatening the perfection of her carefully applied makeup. Her breath came uneven, shallow, as though she stood on the edge of collapse. Last month, Henderson continued. Her system won first place unanimously at an international competition in Silicon Valley. I was one of the judges, and I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, I have never witnessed such ingenuity. All eyes pivoted again to Olivia. She stood serenely, neither flustered nor boastful. Her quiet composure suddenly transformed into commanding presence. Miss Olivia, the president said with a bow of respect, would you honor us with a few words? The room hushed. The clinking of glasses ceased. The orchestra stilled, and even the chandeliers seemed to dim, leaving Olivia beneath a single spotlight. She stepped forward and accepted the microphone with steady hands. Her father George's eyes shimmered with pride, a pride forged not in surprise but in recognition. He alone had carried her secret, standing silently behind her for years. Amanda, rigid as marble, lowered her gaze to the polished floor. Barbara sat slack in her chair, her lips parted, her hands trembling in her lap. Olivia lifted the microphone. Her voice, though soft, rang with unshakable clarity. 5 years ago, I made a choice. The words cut through the silence like a bell tolling at midnight. I chose an environment where I could think freely, without pressure, without constant comparison. That is why I remained at a small accounting firm. While others saw limitation, I saw space. A hush of realization swept the crowd. I worked late nights, through holidays, through weekends, alone, except for my father, who quietly opened his laboratory to me. Without his trust, this system would not exist. George lowered his head briefly, tears glistening behind his glasses, his lips curved in the faintest smile of acknowledgement. Olivia continued, her tone growing warmer. This technology, born of sleepless nights and relentless curiosity, protects people in ways our current systems cannot. It shields financial transactions, personal information, even private communication between loved ones. At the global competition, the judges said only one word: revolutionary. Murmurs of awe rippled again through the audience. Executives shifted in their seats, calculating futures now orbiting around Olivia's work. Barbara's pale face slowly flushed. For the first time in her life, she saw her eldest daughter not as an afterthought but as a force. Her heart swelled with pride and regret, tangled together like vines choking a tree. And now, Olivia said, her eyes sweeping the crowd, I wish to share one final piece of news. Boston Tech has agreed to become our first enterprise customer. The contract was signed moments ago. The statement landed like thunder. Amanda's knees buckled almost imperceptibly. The company that had exalted her now bowed to her sister's genius. Success, Olivia concluded, her gaze gentle yet firm, is not measured by glamour or applause. It is measured by persistence, by the courage to walk your own path, even when misunderstood. She paused, her eyes lingered on her father, softening. Above all, I owe this to my father. His quiet love of science, his endless patience, were the foundation upon which I built. George wiped a tear. Barbara, moved beyond words, dabbed furiously at her own eyes with a silk handkerchief. Then Olivia turned to Amanda. And to my sister, she said softly. Amanda flinched, bracing for condemnation. But Olivia's next words disarmed her. I celebrate you. Each of us has our own path. Yours is yours, and mine is mine. I am happy for your success. It was not revenge, it was grace. Grace sharp enough to cut, yet warm enough to heal. A shift rippled through the ballroom. Executives, socialites, and dignitaries, many accustomed to hollow words, found themselves blinking back tears. They saw not rivalry, but reconciliation, not competition, but compassion. Barbara bowed her head, her shoulders trembling as she absorbed her eldest daughter's words. Decades of pride and pretense cracked open within her. For the first time, she questioned everything she had valued. Amanda's carefully guarded facade shattered. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Cleansing rather than humiliating, she felt a strange release, as though her sister's love had melted chains she hadn't known she carried. 1 year later, Silicon Valley. Sunlight streamed through glass walls of a sleek office nestled in San Francisco's Green Hills. From her top-floor corner office, Olivia gazed out at the Silicon Valley skyline. On her desk lay a copy of Forbes, her portrait gracing the cover under the headline, 50 Innovative Entrepreneurs of the Year. Olivia, the materials for today's meeting are ready, a voice said gently. Olivia turned. It was Amanda, now dressed simply in business attire, holding a neatly prepared file. A softness radiated from her that had not been there a year ago. Thank you, Amanda, Olivia replied with a smile. Amanda had left Boston Tech months earlier, choosing instead to join her sister's company. Now she headed their social impact division, leading projects that applied cutting-edge security to education in underprivileged regions. This proposal is strong, Olivia said, scanning the pages. You've done excellent work. Amanda's eyes glimmered with humble joy. I never imagined my skills would find purpose here. It feels right. Just then, the office's large screen lit up with a video call. Barbara appeared, elegant as ever, but her eyes now shone with warmth. Mom, Olivia greeted. Are you flying back to Boston today? Yes, but first I have news, Barbara said excitedly. My mentoring program for young women in tech has been officially recognized by the city. I never thought I'd find such fulfillment in guiding others. Amanda and Olivia exchanged smiles. The mother who once prized appearances had transformed, finding meaning in nurturing others instead of competing. And, Barbara added with a sheepish chuckle, I still brag about you too sometimes, but now, instead of success, I tell people about individuality, about respecting each child's unique journey. Olivia's heart swelled. Behind Barbara, George appeared briefly, holding lecture notes. He was preparing his final class at Boston University before retirement, ready to spend his next chapter as both family man and technical advisor to Olivia's company. Sunday, family dinner. Barbara reminded them, don't be late. This time, I'll cook. Laughter filled the call. As the sun lowered outside, painting the Silicon Valley sky in strokes of orange and rose, Olivia looked at her family, reconnected, reshaped, renewed. Her technology protected millions across the world, but the true masterpiece of her life was here, a family finally walking their own authentic paths, side by side. Let's go to dinner together after the meeting, Olivia suggested, her voice light. Amanda nodded. Barbara smiled warmly from the screen. Outside, twilight deepened, but the horizon glowed bright, as if heralding not just a new era for technology, but for the Williams family itself.